and welcome to EdChat. As always, I'm your host, Corbin Russell. This week on EdChat, I will be hosting a three-part mini-series on technological curriculum issues. The technological curriculum issue the mini-series will be focused on is virtual reality in the classroom, with a main focus on the uses and why use virtual reality in the math classroom. Before we dive into this subject of virtual reality in the classroom and what virtual reality is and how has it changed over time, uh, let's talk about why this has even become an interest to me and why I would spend hours and hours researching virtual reality. I first saw virtual reality uh, when I was at a family get together over the holidays. And I noticed my younger cousin who's in grade 10 playing a PlayStation video game and having on the virtual reality headset. So what I've noticed when he was playing this game was he was super engaged into the game, and it was even hard to try to talk to him to see what he was doing or what the game was even about. I thought to myself, well, wouldn't that be a great thing to try to engage students in the classroom? And wouldn't we all love it if students were so into their work that they forgot about everything else that was around them and just dove right into what they were working on? So that's what interested me in this topic of virtual reality. Now, I hosted an online discussion group uh, here a couple of weeks ago, and not many people actually knew what virtual reality even was. So, virtual reality, according to MIT, which has the best explanation out there that I've been able to find, is they compare it to listening to music. We listen to our music with our earbuds, and with our earbuds, we're drowning out the surrounding noise around us and being able to be immersed in the song or the music that we're listening to. With virtual reality, it's a very similar thing. We're putting on the headsets or the goggles, and we are drowning out the visual noise around us so we can be fully immersed into our virtual worlds. So it's a reality, but it's a virtual reality or a 3D reality that we're being immersed into. Now, where did virtual reality come from? How has it changed over time? And why would we want to think about using virtual reality in the classroom? Some of you may be thinking it's going to be a big distraction. Let's first look at where did it come from? The earliest I can find representation of virtual reality in the headsets was actually in 1995. Nintendo came out with a system called the Virtual Boy. And with the Virtual Boy, you put on the headset and you had a controller in front of you, and the game came by your eyes on the headset, and you used the controller. It was a very crude virtual reality headset. It was only 32-bit, but that was the very first virtual reality headset that I can find. So after the Virtual Boy was made, I'm sure a lot of the big companies were seeing what a great way to capitalize on a very well unknown market. So now, fast forward to 2019, and almost every major company out there is making a version of a virtual reality headset. Now, some are just compatible with your smartphones, and some are fully immersive, and they have controllers, walk pads, and a full on headset that you can download games onto. We'll dive more into the headsets in part three of this mini series, and when we talk about headset comparison and which one to buy. Right now, it's just important to know that it has evolved from a very crude 32-bit, which at the time was a great advancement in technology, to now a fully immersive HD technology that will really capture you and make you think you are in that place. So, why use it in the classrooms? Is there any even research that suggests this is a good idea? I know a lot of teachers say to me all the time, oh, geez, another new technology, that's nothing but a distraction. all these technology, all the kids want to do is play on their cell phones and play on their computers. They're not paying attention to anything that we're doing in class. We always have to compete with these technologies. But with virtual reality, research is out there. The first article that I want to talk about, and all articles will be linked in the description, so you can just look in the description and click the link to read the full article yourself. But the first article I'd like to talk about was written by a group called Teach Thought. And they wrote an article entitled 10 Ways to Use Virtual Reality in the Classroom. Now, after reading through this article, I was blown away because personally I never considered using virtual reality in the classroom until I saw my cousin using it and then started to do a little bit of research on if is it even possible, what does it look like, and I stumbled across this article first. And what this article outlined was 10 different ways you can use virtual reality in the classroom. A couple ways that I thought were really great were first, they suggested you can now explore within the human body. Now, before this, it wasn't actually possible unless you watched videos to go in and explore the human body. But with virtual reality, you can actually dive in, go through all the major systems in the body like you're actually going through them, just like if you ever watched the Magic School Bus, they shrunk the bus down and went inside the person's body and went through it. You could do that now with virtual reality. This has made it possible. Another way that virtual reality has made possible is with doctors. If anybody watches The Good Doctor or Grey's Anatomy, they probably saw on there that they're using virtual reality to perform surgeries. Now, what a great thing. Now you can practice the surgery before even going to do it, or you can, as a resident, you can do surgeries without having to be on a real life patient. So those that way you can explore the body and you can see what's in the body for a lower level class such as a science 7 or science 8 class, but when you get up into higher levels such as med school, you can even perform surgeries of the body. So now you can also get students to make their own virtual reality environment. So if you want to review a concept or get students to create an educational experience for other kids, they can do that. And I thought, what a great way to review anything in the classroom is to get your students to make their own games and then get the other students to play them. It would be a way more way better way of engaging students than just giving them an outline and review questions. Instead, they can dive into it and make their own games, and by teaching other people, they are learning the material a lot better themselves. And what more fun way than to create a game? Students would love this idea, I thought to my thought. And but this wasn't a very educational or peer-reviewed article, so I dove a little deeper and I found a few peer-reviewed articles. And one, I apologize for the pronunciation of the name, but Pantolids. I was reading their article on why use virtual reality in the classroom, and in the article, they have a lot of great ways and uses of virtual reality in the classroom. One of the major ones that I found was you're now able to take students to places you couldn't before, and you're also able to take them to there in a safe way. Some of the educational experiences out there that I've been able to find is one where you can go to outer space and fix the arm of the space station, the International Space Station. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think I could get my principal to sign off on allowing me to take all my students to outer space, nor would the funds be there to be able to take them all to outer space to help fix the arm of the International Space Station. So that's just one example of a way we could use it and take students to places that they never been before. But is this going to be a way to actually engage students? Are students going to be more engaged? So I dug a little further and I found an article by Hassan. And in his article, he explains that it is a new tool to get more students engaged. What they found when they gave students these virtual reality headsets and allowed them to do their schoolwork is that the students were far more engaged and they enjoyed the work a lot more. When students are more engaged and actually having fun in their learning, what you find is that it directly correlates with achievement. So not only did they find that the students were more engaged, but they found after using the virtual reality, the achievement of these students on their standardized tests actually went up. Now, those are a few advantages. The big disadvantage that all articles were listing was it is expensive. So, yes, it is expensive to outfit your whole classroom with these virtual reality headsets. But that being said, there's a lot of grants out there that you can apply for, a lot of technological grants out there from a lot of different companies, and a lot of people don't know about them. So this money goes untouched for a really long time, and they love it when people come up with these ideas of how they're going to use a new and involving technology in their classroom. Also, there is cheaper headsets out there, as we'll talk about in part 3 of this mini series. Last week, as I touched on, I hosted a online discussion with some peer teachers around all of Canada, actually, and I thought, is there even an interest from other teachers out there about virtual reality, and are any of the teachers even using this in their classroom yet? What I found when I talked to these other teachers is they were blown away by what the possibilities were in their own classrooms and thought that, yes, it would be a great idea to incorporate virtual reality into their classrooms, but they have not seen anybody or heard of anybody using virtual reality in their classrooms yet. And during that discussion, I found out that there was a high level of interest from other teachers out there in exploring virtual reality that none of them have, and they talked to other teachers at their school, and none of them had used virtual reality yet. So I knew that the research that I currently was conducting was very fresh and very new, and I wanted to dive very deep into this topic and not only focus on my curriculum issue of math, but focus on the classroom as a whole. So that's why I did the research of even seeing if it's an advantage in the classroom first, and then I dove into the advantages in the math classroom. And what I found from my research, as I talked about earlier, is that yes, it is an advantage in the classroom. It leads to higher engagement. You can take students to places they've never been before. You can explore new worlds. You can do this all safely. The only disadvantage, like I said, was cost, but we talked about different ways to subsidize the costs of these headsets. So that's just a brief introduction on what virtual reality is, and is it even worth it to use in the classroom? I hope joining me today, you found out a little bit more information on what virtual reality is, and that yes, it is worth it in the classroom. Please join me next time as I talk about math and virtual reality and the advantages of using virtual reality in the math classroom. As always, I'm your host, Corbin Russell. Thank you for joining me.